We are continuing with the teachings of Sri Nisargadatta Maharaj from the book I Am That. So, I will begin by reading the words of Nisargadatta Maharaj, and he says, "You are and I am, but only as points in consciousness. We are nothing apart from consciousness. This must be well grasped. The world hangs on the thread of consciousness. No consciousness, no world." Sometimes this is very difficult to grasp because we are so identified with our separate individual existence. You see, everything is happening in your consciousness. The consciousness is the base, it is the substratum of all that is happening. You may say that a tree is cut in the jungle, but I am here. But you see, the reality of a tree being cut in the jungle is not a reality till it reaches you through sensory input. Unless and until something comes to your senses or arises as thought within the mind, it does not become real. Therefore, this earth, this universe, the moon, the oceans, all this is because I am. Therefore, nothing exists apart from consciousness. Tell me one thing which you have experienced outside of consciousness. Does anyone know of a thing that nobody has ever seen? Or all your imagination is based on the experiences you have had in the past. They are all built up from sense impressions and brought about through memory. So you see, the consciousness is the base. It is both the source and the substance of what is being experienced. And Maharaj says, now I will read his words. He says, "We have divorced ourselves in our imagination from the real world of common experience and enclosed ourselves in a cloud of personal desires and fears, images and thoughts, ideas and concepts. Now, you see, all that is happening, generally it is often viewed with this perspective that things are happening to me. But the sense of me is also a happening. Therefore, there is one underlying principle, one common factor, which is the substratum of all that is happening. And that is why, the masters say that the droplet is not separate from the ocean. The ocean is not composed of drops of water. The drop is the ocean, and the ocean is in the drop. Like, in Hindi we say, Sagar mein hai boond, boond mein hai sagar. The ocean and the drop are one. The ocean is not composed of droplets. Only when you see a drop of water separate from the ocean, you feel that it is different. Similarly, when you see yourself separate from the rest, you identify with your limitations of mind and body, it is then that you create this separation. And the separation becomes our suffering. So if you see, a majority of our problems comes from these ego structures that we have built around what is happening. And these ego structures are I, me, mine, and myself. This is the way it should be for me. That is the way it should not be for me. This is what I want. This is what I don't want. I want them to be like that. I want them not to be like that. I should acquire this. I should not acquire that. So you see, this never ending story of I, me, and mine propagates suffering. And this is what Maharaj says, that the common factor is the pure consciousness or the being, which is the substratum of all that is happening. So Maharaj, in further explanation, says that all the dreams are superimposed over a common world. To some extent, they shape and influence each other. The basic unity operates in spite of all. At the root of it lies self-forgetfulness, not knowing who I am. So the questioner then asks that, before this forgetfulness, did I know who I am? Now you see, this kind of question still arises from the sense of personal identification, from the belief of separate existence. It is only the entity which believes itself to be real that can ask this question. Otherwise, there is nobody to forget anything or to remember anything. And I will just read Maharaj's words because he has mentioned this beautifully. He says, self-forgetting is inherent in self-knowing. Consciousness and unconsciousness are two aspects of one life. They coexist. To know the world, you forget the self. To know the self, you forget the world. What is world after all? A collection of memories. Cling to one that matters. Hold on to I am. And let go all else. This is sadhana. So when you abide with the I am, what happens is that the reality of I am grows on you and slowly dissolves the notion of separate existence. Now, as the common wisdom says, that whatever you give attention to becomes real. That is the nature of mind. So if you give attention to your thoughts, if you identify with your thoughts, then you remain identified with the limited organism, the limited mind-body organism. So if you confine yourself to a particular culture, to a particular religion, to a particular nationality, then you remain limited. And then whenever those limitations are challenged, the ego creates a reaction in the form of unpleasant sensation, emotion, anger, and all those things. But when you reside in your being, which is your most natural state, then the presence itself grows and dissolves that which is unreal. And Maharaj says that in realization, everything is known. Nothing is to be remembered. So self forgetfulness or self remembrance is actually, they are actually only states. It is never that you are apart from your natural state, which is beyond the forgetfulness and the remembrance. And this is the confusion for most spiritual seekers, because they are always caught up in this duality. So they experience what Ramesh Balsekar called flip flop. Sometimes I am in my most natural state and I feel bliss and calm and serenity and harmony with existence. But then comes a time when I forget myself, I get carried away by my thoughts and emotions and sensations, and then the world is a horrible place and I feel like running away from it. But Maharaj says that you are neither. You go beyond this self forgetfulness and self remembrance. What you truly are is untouched by any of the things that are happening in the world. So you see, it is not that one does not get involved in the world. In the moment, you may still get involved with what is happening in the world. Some tasks require concentration, attention. So in that moment, you are supposed to give attention to things. You're supposed to concentrate. For example, if you're driving, now you have to focus there. If you don't focus and drive, then there will be consequences. But, when you learn to abide in your being, that natural state is always maintained. That awareness is always maintained, even when you are doing other tasks. So, if something happens, some unexpected outcome happens, like you are driving with full concentration and focus, and still, your car bumps into another car, or, something like that happens, you are still on the ground of your natural state. So you don't lose your calm and composure, even when, things of these nature happen. Yes, in the moment you may produce a reaction, but that is only in the moment. That is the most natural reaction of the mind-body organism. Now, if you noticed, when I was speaking earlier, there was a car down blowing a horn. So I felt irritated by that blowing horn. So I did create a reaction towards it. But then it just came and it went. And to conclude, I will just read Maharaj's words. He says, "There is a state beyond forgetting and not forgetting, the natural state. To remember, to forget, all these all are states of mind, thought bound, word bound." Now you see, the being is beyond remembrance and forgetfulness. It is not that you're going to realize your true nature by thinking about it. Thinking will not lead you there. In fact, it's the opposite. When the thinking stops and the mind is still, it is then that you see this with complete clarity. Just like you see reflection of the moon in the water on clear nights. If the water is still, then you see the reflection of the moon, you see the image of the moon clearly. But if the water is wavy, then you will see a distorted reflection. So when the mind is still, the reality shines through and through. And nothing needs to be done to do that. It is not about achieving that state. The achievement bound mind is a part of the ego intellect system. And that is why Ramesh Balsekar said that intellect is a dubious gift. The intellect works beautifully in the world. Critical thinking is very important for daily living. But at the same time, that critical thinking will not lead you to reality. The reality of your true nature. The reality of your true nature comes only when the mind is still. The reality shines only in the deep silence. So I guess we will conclude this topic for now. I will see you next time.